What's up, everybody? Ben Grove here with my Perfect Order Cube review. The set's dropping today, so I thought I'd hop in and share my thoughts on some of the cards that are going to fit best into your drafts that you play with your friends in a cube. As always, remember, you can check out CubeKoga.net for lots of cube building inspiration or maybe some cubes to play, as well as some Discord resources of some great places to go for a cube. We're going to hop right in and we're going to check out some prevos first, starting off with the Rowlet and the Dartrix, which are actually really good basics and stage ones for the line. Find a Friend is just great value from an attack on turn one from Rowlet. The Dartrix here, hey, I mean, a 90 snipe, that's like half of Radiant Greninja, right? So really, really powerful, honestly, and not too bad of a price at 3 colorless energy, so it can be powered up with a DCE. And then moving on, we've got a Binacle with Double Draw. I mean, it's nothing flashy, but it's probably the best Binacle out there. And then finally a Fletchling with Chirp. And honestly, I love the templating of this attack where you search your deck for 2 Pokemon with fighting resistance, which it's like, okay, we're searching for flying Pokemon, right? Which you can also search for psychic types, aka they've also got that psychic resistance too. So I think it can have some really unique implications in Cube, as well as just getting your Talonflames or your Fletchinders, right? All right, moving on to some retreads of some cards. Maybe just a couple of them are type shifted as well. Lumio Skelette is just a Big Malasada, but worse. It only removes 1 special condition, while Big Malasada gets them all. So Malasada Supremacy, I suppose. Tarragon is just a type-shifted Nessa. It gets back fighting Pokemon and basic fighting energy, as opposed to Nessa getting water. Naveen is just a copy of Sightseer, and I don't recommend putting this in your cube, but if you have it in and you want some flavor to dodge the singleton rule, you can get Naveen to do that for you. Growing Energy is just burning energy for fire types. I mean, it can be really great with Grass. Has a lot of ways already to buff up health with like a Cricketune or a Shaman level X or something like that. And Rocky Fighting Energy is just wash water energy, but for fighting types. Nothing special there. I think just a fun little fluff thing that you can have in your cube to buff up fighting types. All right, moving on to some real cards here. First up, we've got Shaman with the Send Flowers attack. Search your deck for an energy card and attach it to one of your benched grass Pokemon, then shuffle your deck. And, I mean, it doesn't look like too much on the face of it, but the fact that it just gets an energy card is really cool. It can get the growing psychic energy that we just talked about, or maybe a Neo upper energy to power up your stage 2 later on. Those cards are usually kind of difficult to search out, which is what makes this card unique. A lot of cards, we've seen a lot of grass type cards that have like search your deck for a basic grass energy and attach it to this Pokemon, but the Shaman getting any energy that you want is really cool. It kind of mirrors the Mew EX that had a similar attack way back in the day. It's a great attack and very versatile, and could be very versatile in powering up like some big grass stage 2 strategies, I think. All right, continue on with support for Grass Stage 2. Superior with their Regal Command attack, doing 20 damage for each of your Pokemon in play. Or the Solar Coiling attack, with if you have Rose's Encouragement in your discard pile, this attack does 150 more damage. In my review of this, I don't really lean into the Rose's Encouragement. I think for Cube, 250 damage is a lot. If you want to lean into it, I think that's a fair way to play it, but I think the Regal Command is a little bit more fun for Cube. Because Grass has a lot of ways to just flood your board with guys. The Sunshine Grace Grovyle, where you search your deck for a grass Pokemon, that it's not only a Grovyle, there's a Sunflora with that, and there's a Grottle with that as well too. So lots of ways for Grass to just search out and get all their guys into play. And you can leverage it with cards like Skyfield to increase your bench size to up to 8, and you can do 180 for 1. This to me like leans into cubes that are a kind of like a GLC type, where you've got like the singleton lines. I think that this kind of effect really plays well with the Superior, and even if you're just swinging 100 for 1, that's still a really great rate. And so I think the Superior has a lot of utility in a high power singleton environment. I think that could be a really great card to play around. Next up is Dugong with the Wash Out ability. As often as you like, you may use this ability, move a water energy from one of your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. Now, this is not a new ability. We've seen this plenty of times, most notably with the Quagsire, and that paired up very famously with the Naganadel for the Quagnag strategy back in the day. The reason I think this is really cool on Dugong, number one, good Dugong cards are few and far between, so I think it's very cool that there's a Dugong with this ability. Compared to the Quagsire, it itself is not a powerful attacker. The Quag can really, if you've got enough energy in play, the Quag is really a devastating attacker. So this card can go in lower power levels where like it's just doing 2 for 60 is its maximum. So I think you have a little bit more flexibility with this Dugong and Cube than you do with the Quagsire. At the same time, you can also do it in like a really high power level with the other Dugong here, the Dual Blizzard Dugong. It can really be powered up by the Washout Dugong. If you like, basically, I think you just replace Quagsire and Quagnag with Dugong, and this Dual Blizzard Dugong can really be dangerous. You discard 2 energy from it to snipe 60 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon, and maybe using the Naganadels charging up to get those energy back into play, and then move them up to the Dugong again, and rinse and repeat. I think could be a really cool archetype and a really high-powered cube to build around. I think you can also just play this Dugong as just like a fair, this guy just moves my energy around. And in cubes that are a little bit lower tempo, that's a really important thing. And you can pair this up with, like, I don't know, maybe a cool new retreat aid guy in the Toadscruel here with the Secret Forest Path. I think pairing up Toadscruel and Dugong could be a really cool, unique pairing of guys that don't really get to shine in the limelight often, and could be a really fun cube archetype. Speaking of guys that are not in the limelight, Barbaracle coming in hot with the Stone Arms ability. Once during your turn, you may use this ability, attach a basic fighting energy card from your hand to one of your fighting Pokemon. They are really giving fighting Pokemon all the tools this year with Lunatone that is drawing cards. Now they're getting to attach extra energy for turn. Fighting type has really been a type that hasn't gotten these, like, just a lot of the same effects that other types have gotten, and fighting type is just, I hit hard, I hit really efficiently. Like, now we're getting some really cool fighting type abilities and enablers, and I couldn't be more excited for them. It's very similar to a Xatu without the draw ability, so it's a little worse. But you can imagine these kinds of cards in the same power level of cube. I think a really cool way to build around Barbaracle would be to just build around just energy vomiting into play, maybe with Gutsy Pickaxe, and maybe your main attackers like this Gigalith who does 20 damage for each fighting energy attached to it, and so you're able to snipe that damage too. So it's really strong. On the flip side, you could power it up with something like Hippowdon and the Sand Reset ability, which will shuffle away all energy that are in play and just kind of like slow the tempo down, and then you're able to power up your Hippowdon and start attacking quicker because you've got the Barbaracle that allows you to put extra energy into play. And there's also a Hippowdon that grabs energy from the discard pile. So I don't know, Hippowdon level X is a really quintessential cube card of a really cool effect that you don't see often enough. So I think adding more acceleration to the fighting type is really gonna up the capabilities of a Hippowdon. And it could be really cool. I also think this card just kind of makes Barbaracle a possibility for just a line in and of itself, and it's kind of cool because Barbaracle has really interesting cards, but nothing that's like a glue between them. The Barbaracle with Rock Rush here, it's basically like just like a mini Golden Go. You could, I'd see you just putting like a Lunatone in and Barbaracle, and like you're discarding a whole bunch of fighting energy cards from your hand, using the Stone Arms Barbaracle to refresh a new attacking Barbaracle. And then these other Barbaracles on the screen here, they're just really interesting cards that are just missing a piece of glue to make them into an interesting cube line. They're like a reason to play them, and I think that this Barbaracle powering up and accelerating your energy is a way to let Barbaracle keep up with more high-powered threats, and could make these cards into just like an interesting attacking line in a cube. You could have 4 Barbarical and 6 Binacle in your cube, and that could be a really cool line. Next up is Hawlucha with the Vengeful Kick attack. If your bench Pokemon have any damage counters on them, it does 30 damage plus 60 more damage. And this is just another great high-powered basic attacker. The attack has a unique condition that you have to fulfill for it to be powered up, and it's strong once you do so, but you have to jump through a hoop or two to do that. It's very similar to the Drampa that is a staple in Dragon GLC decks, where the Berserk attack's swinging for a whole bunch, and Dragon usually you're gonna end up putting damage counters on things with things like Rainbow Energy, or it's also very similar to the Assault Gate Hoopa, where you have to jump through a hoop to get it to do its damage, otherwise it does nothing. And cards like Rainbow Energy or Team Magma Secret Base, or even like Spikemuth would be great cards that would power up the Vengeful Kick's second condition. I actually think that Spikemuth could be really cool because it can it's based around switching, which you're going to want to play with the Hoopa anyway. So you could really like run Hoopa and Hawlucha together in just like a big basic, really strong, cheap, efficient attacker deck. I think this Hawlucha is worth a mention if you're looking for strong, big basic fighting types for a high-powered cube. Could be really cool. Next up is Meowth EX with the Last Ditch Catch. Once during your turn, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may use this ability, search your deck for a supporter card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. And you can't use more than one ability that has Last Ditch in its name each turn. It also has the Tuck Tail attack, which is 3 for 60, and you put this Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. I'm really excited for this Meowth because it is the most reasonable card to include of the big 2-prize search your deck for a supporter guys. Lumineon and Tapu Lele both also have 170 HP, and they do the same kind of effect, but Lumineon's attack is a lot stronger. 3 for 120 is way better than 3 for 160. And the Tapu is just like an efficient attacker, being able to attack for a DCE, as opposed to this Meowth. The 3 energy, I think, really means it's not a good efficient attacker, and so it really is limited in that frame. I think the Meowth also like has some really great synergies out there. It synergizes really great with cards like Winona to search for your deck for 3 normal type Pokemon, so you could search for a Meowth and maybe like a Bidoof and a Babarrel. But it also has synergies well, not synergies, but counter synergies with cards that play around cards like that. It is perfectly countered by Team Rocket's Watchtower, which is I think is great for its use in Cube. And Team Rocket's Watchtower, I think, is starting to be a card you can really build a cube around. You have decks that are going to want to use all these normal type support lines, your Babarrels, your Pidgeots, your Pidgeotos, or your Meowths, Meowth EXs. But then the decks that want to put Team Rocket's Watchtower in play and say, tough luck, you have no consistency now, buddy. So that's always a really fun thing for me to play around in Cube, so I'm excited for that back and forth. Next up is Rosa's Encouragement. You can only use this card if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent, and you get to attach up to 2 basic energy cards from your discard pile to one of your stage 2 Pokemon. The way that I enjoy how this card is templated is pretty interesting, because it's for Cube, it really lets you play around. If you have a Cube that has a real dichotomy between like stage 1 decks that really want to go fast and aggressive, and stage 2 decks that want to like hang back and set up a board and then have some level of inevitability, this Rosa's Encouragement is a perfect complement to the stage 2 decks that want that inevitability. And you think of cards like Raihan that are great come from behind cards, or Reversal Energy that play in very similar contexts. I think that Rosa being templated for the way it is with just stage 2s in mind, whereas like Raihan or Reversal Energy can be played by stage 1s, I think that Rosa really puts itself in a niche that lets it be strong without being oppressive. I also really like how it, as opposed to a lot of the comeback cards from the Gen 3 era that were built around a battle between EXs and non-EXs, Rose's Encouragement is more about what stage you are. And so like cards like Cessation Crystal that can't be played on an EX, or Double Rainbow Energy can't be played on an EX. There's a lot of that in the Gen 3 era. So if you're building a cube around like a lot of more bigger, bulky stage 2 EXs that like don't have any inbuilt synergy within themselves, I'm looking at this Aggron EX here. It's a really cool card, but you gotta power it up, man. How are you gonna attach 5 energy to a stage 2? And so cards like Rose's Encouragement, I think, are really good ways to play around with different back and forths in your cube, whether it's EX versus non-EX or stage 1 versus stage 2. This one having more support for the stage 1 versus stage 2, I think is really cool, and I'm excited to play with this cube, with this card in my cube. Next up is Telepath Psychic Energy, and this card is psycho. There's no way around it. It's really crazy. It provides psychic energy, and when you attach it from your hand to one of your psychic Pokemon, you search your deck for 2 basic psychic Pokemon and put them on your bench. Then you shuffle your deck. That is crazy. It's just like it's capture energy on steroids, and I really think in a lot of cubes it's going to be unfair. Like, there is not really another comparable special energy for other types other than like Double Dragon Energy or something. Like, I think this card is really, really good. And it just allows Psychic decks to set up their board. And in a lot of cubes, I don't think this will be a fair card. However, if you have Psychic types that are like, their archetype is built around flooding the board, I think this card is great to put in, and honestly could really just be like a tiny buff to those decks if they needed a buff. I'm thinking of cards like this Reuniclus here, which you want for its attack to do a bunch of damage, you have to have a Solosis, a Duosion, and a Reuniclus in play. So the Telepath Psychic Energy just lets you get your guys in play. Same thing with this Nidoqueen. Obviously, this Nidoqueen is not a Psychic type, but over the years, there have been plenty of Nidorins, well, any of the line that have been printed as Psychic types. So I think it could be really cool if you had this Power Lariat Nidoqueen as the big attacker in your deck, where you're adding extra damage for how many evolved Pokemon you have in play. But you run, like, your cube only has like Psychic type Nidorins and Nidorinas, so like you can use a lot of the really cool Psychic type support like Telepath Psychic Energy. I think that could be a really cool way to make this card feel fair, because I'd like, if you're playing a different type deck and your opponent flips over a Ralts and like, okay, I attach Telepath Psychic Energy and I get 2 more Ralts into play, it's like, man, that's really good. And I personally, for me, I think that's almost like a feels bad moment that I don't want to see in my cubes. So, all right, and those are the cards that I think are going to be really great for cube from Perfect Order. Honestly, a really interesting set which balances out some type specific support and like singleton protection with some unique effects and some effects that we haven't seen in some types before. So I'm really excited to try out some of these things in cube. Which cards are you most excited to try out in cube? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you next time.